Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to be discussing my strategies and my kind of preparation for the upcoming store championships for Lorcana Archazia's Island. And, this whole season has seen some really crazy stuff happen, from just a lot of powerful cards coming out for stuff like Sapphire, and then having, the bans for Hiram and for Fortisphere, and that completely changing the landscape of the meta. And then just kind of watching how everything has settled after that, and is still, in my opinion, still settling. And I kind of wanted to go over the deck that I'm thinking about using, which I'm extremely on board with this. But then also kind of my mental preparation going into it for those of you who maybe want to play Ruby Amethyst but don't really know what to do, or you've been trying to and you keep struggling with it. I have found a deck that I feel has really been crafted in a way that is very flexible depending on what colors you're going against. And a lot of that, at the end of the day, the biggest thing that affects how you play and whether or not you win, whether that's a store championship or just regular weekly, store tournament, comes down a lot to the piloting of it, right? The player and your experience with the deck. So I'm going to be covering a bunch of different topics in this. This is going to be a longer video, I'm sure. But I kind of wanted to just dump a bunch of my brain and my thinking of this deck, because I've been playing Ruby Amethyst on and off for many sets at this point. And I say on and off because I like to be able to switch and do other things too. I'm not one of those mono deck kind of guys where it's like, all I'm going to do is play red, purple, and that's all I do, or whatever other color. I've bounced around to getting wins with Steel Song, or getting wins with, before it was Ruby Sapphire, Ruby Amethyst, Emerald Steel. So I've moved around a bit, and I've tried a bunch of other decks, and just trying out different things. I really wanted to see Sapphire Emerald work this set, and I just didn't really find that it worked the way that I wanted to play. So I've just kind of made my way back. So with that being said, I've made the deck available in the link in the description on Dreamborn, so you guys can see this, you can copy it, you can use it for your own tournaments. And this deck, I'll be upfront. If you've been playing Ruby Amethyst throughout set 8, Archazia's Island, you know how much of a struggle it was pre-ban. It was tough. In my opinion, I felt like Sapphire Steel was even a more difficult hurdle to overcome, simply because of how much items and everything that they could just keep doing and doing and doing on their turn. And then you finally see the dime drop and there's nothing that you could do, right? We have no answers in red purple for what to do when that lucky dime drops. There's nothing that we can interact with as of yet. So it was very heartbreaking that there wasn't a solution. And a friend and I, we tried really hard to craft something to come up with a solution around it, because neither of us wanted to play Sapphire Steel, and we weren't on board with Ruby Sapphire either, and we just could not figure out a good way. And I had been trying. I kept bringing up this deck again and again, making modifications, seeking out answers. I really wanted to see Ruby Amethyst not only do well in set 8, but be the one that I wanted to take the championships. And then after the ban, it really opened up the window for that to happen, and I've jumped right back into this 100%. So this is the deck that I'm planning to take to my store championships coming up. And I guess the first thing to cover is my credentials, right? Why would you listen to me over any other Yahoo on the internet? And I have never won, as of yet, one of the Disney challenges. I haven't won any of these really huge, 10K events or anything yet. Although I am trying to practice and get better at this game, so that maybe one day I actually have those opportunities and can do well in those events. So I do not have an extensive TCG background. I've dabbled a couple of different games, but this Lorcana is something that I can play with my family, which allows me to make more utility and more use of these cards with my family and being able to play with them. But also, I found that the game is very competitive. It has room to be very competitive. So that's why I continue to practice and try to figure things out. So it's like, I've really have enjoyed the game, and I enjoy the room it has for competitiveness. And Ruby Amethyst is my favorite color combination as of yet. Now, to talk about a couple other past seasons, I have played in at least one store championship for each of the sets that was available. I've been playing since set 1. I won store championship with Ursula's Return. I've gotten a promo from every set that did store champs. I didn't really play the Mirable one very much. I just wasn't super on. I just didn't have a lot of interest in the mat or in the card. I played in one event, got the card, and I was like, okay, I'm good. But with the Scar promo, I really wanted to win a mat. And I went to 4 different store championships. I won an enchanted from each of those, but I only got second one of the times. And I went up against some very fierce competition, and I played Ruby Amethyst 3 of the 4, because I tried doing Ruby Sapphire first, because that's what I was doing well with. And then I pivoted after Ruby Amethyst defeated me and bumped me out. And I wanted to, I was like, man, I remember why I really love this deck, and jumped right back into it and started doing really well with it. And I've been on it this whole set as well. So I say that just to say I win a good number of times locally at different store championship, or at the store tournaments, the weeklies. And I've participated in the store championships, and I've won first, and I've won second, and I've won all the promos and everything. So just that to say, I do win. I do not claim to be the best. I do not claim to know the most. There are other guys out here who have been playing TCGs for way longer than I have. They understand the vernacular on a whole nother level. They understand all the mindsets. So I'm trying to catch up. But I know that I could help somebody else who's just getting into the game, or someone else who, you're getting tired of losing at your store tournaments and you want to do better. Okay, right? I can help do that part. So, why Ruby Amethyst? Ruby Amethyst is my favorite color combination. The primary thing that is my hands down favorite aspect of it is the fact that it is so resilient to no matter what your opponent does, minus something like Lucky Dime. But outside of that, and I would imagine that eventually Amethyst, probably not Ruby, but I would imagine Amethyst will have an answer for items, and then Lucky Dime's in big trouble. We don't necessarily have the best counter to immediate, kind of location removal, but we've got Maui, we've got Mimfox, we've got Crab, we've got Sisu, Emboldened Warrior. If she has enough, if my opponent has enough cards, she's extra strong. We have ways to do big damage quickly to blow up locations. We just don't have the item interaction yet. Obviously, Amethyst, he's got phenomenal card draw, is the hands down the best at card draw in the entire game. It also has the entire bounce package. It has a number of different evasive answers. Ruby, on the other hand, is all about just, hard control and just doing big damage or doing wide board wipes and just other really cool things that I feel both of these are really good at when together. I have had hands plenty of times, because I played this deck a lot. I've had hands where I've had 4 different uninkables, and normally if you were playing certain color combos, you're basically totally dead in the water before the game even started. And I've been able to have a path forward and then win that game, and then ultimately win that match. So that is one of the things I love about this deck, is that it can recover pretty well. And not even just my version, just in general, Ruby Amethyst has a really phenomenal way to recover and dig itself out of the hole that was the bad hand. And even against some discard decks or discard matchups, you're able to still have enough card draw where they can't totally stop you, and then they can't deal with Be Prepared, right? They might be able to yank 1 or 2 away with Ursula, but they'll run out of time unless you just have a terrible game. And those games happen. And that's one of the things that I'd probably also really stress early into this video and into the mindset, I guess, of Ruby Amethyst, is it doesn't matter what deck you have. It doesn't matter if somebody wins some big event and you're like, I love that deck, I'm going to purchase that deck, or I'm going to pull it from my binders and sleeve it up and slap it on the table. Unless you understand how to pilot that deck and how to use it to its effectiveness, its true effectiveness, you're going to struggle. And even if you know exactly what you're doing, you can still have a bad hand. Even if you get a bad hand and you try to recover, your opponent can have a phenomenal hand and just completely wreck you. it can just not be your day. It doesn't matter what you did. It just seems like everything was against you. Bad hand, bad mulligan. You lost the dice roll. You know, it was just repeated. You got really awful matchups that were like a hard counter to whatever you wanted to do. That stuff happens. So no matter what, have that in the back of your head. I'm going to do the best that I can, but stuff can still happen. It's also good to have that in general with life. So, okay. Ruby Amethyst. Let's get into my version. Don't worry about this over here. I'm going to fill this in later once the video's done. But I've titled this deck Control to Victory. I just needed to put something. But to me, that is the embodiment of this deck. So I wanted to kind of lay that out as well. So let's let's just go over the deck first before I do any rearranging. So this deck is 61 cards with 14 uninkables. My philosophy is that you need to have a solid 1-drop representation in your deck. Until literally a few days ago, I would have told you up and down and sideways, I always run 10 because I have found that running 8 is just not enough. But after some recent stuff that's been going on with the shifting of the meta and my local scene, there's really good players who've been pivoting on what decks they're going to play. I anticipate because they don't want to play their true deck that they want to take to the store championship where you'd be going to. So they're trying out different things, and I'm discovering weaknesses that I've encountered, and I've been fixing things. And now this is a very, very tight deck, and I think it does everything I want it to do in a very efficient way. So now I am running 9 1-drops with 2 Chernobog's Followers, 4 Diablo, and 3 Magic Broom. The one thing that I had dropped recently was I went down to 3 Brooms. I guess we can kind of get into things with each as we're going forward. So with the Chernobog's Followers, the reason I don't run 4 anymore, because I used to do 4 here, 4 Broom, 2 Diablo, but I have found that, especially now, my concern is that when I go to a store championship, Emerald Steel is going to be there, or Steel Song is going to be there. If I'm going second and they drop Cindy or they drop Diablo, that means on turn 2, they could, shift the big Diablo or just sing, even if they're Sapphire Steel, maybe even a Sapphire Steel aggro, even though, because I know the items is less likely, but I know people are still messing around with Sapphire Steel, kind of a mid-range, is that if they can get a good 1-drop on their turn, which could be Belle, Cindy, or Diablo that can shift, they could sing Let the Storm Rage On. They could sing Strength of a Raging Fire on turn 2, and I lose my Chernobog before I even got to, exert him and do to quest and use his ability. So I feel it is better to put only like 2 in there. And if I find a good opening to use him, I will. If not, if I don't really feel it's safe, or maybe I want to draw out their removal, I might drop him. Otherwise, I'll just ink him, right? Diablo, I feel the reason to go with 4 of him is kind of the counterpoint to the Chernobog, because with him, if they take him out, I get a card. If I can put him on library, I get 2 cards, right? It can be really awesome. Maybe I need a card on my turn, and there's nothing that they have done, or I have no more card draw, but they have a character that's exerted. I can crash the Diablo into them. He gets defeated. He did no damage, unless I had Crab or something to, juice him up. But either way, he got defeated. I got a card. It might have been the card that I needed to be able to move forward. I have had instances where I have done that, and it literally made the difference for me to win. With Magic Broom, I like Broom. Broom is usually the one that I would prefer to drop on turn 1, depending on what's going on. But, if I'm going against Steel Emerald, I have a different idea. I'd rather go with Diablo. But with Magic Broom, what I'm hoping to do is that on turn 2, I'm dropping 2 more 1-drops. So normally, if I could drop one of the Brooms on 1, and then it doesn't matter, Chernobog's Followers or Diablo or another Broom on turn 2, I can drop 2 of those and already have 2 more characters. Now it's a lot harder for them to blow up all my characters for me to then have a Mim or a Snake to, either bounce or juice up in order to be able to crash into something that they have and knock it out and then slow the game down. I would say my general mentality is that I need to get to 7 ink. So I know I have to play this game for 7 turns. So depending on what they're doing, I'm going to pivot on what I'm kind of thinking. But if I didn't know what they had, right? I sit down to play with you. I have no idea what you're running. I want to have 1 drop, 1 2 drop, 1 3 drop. And if I have more 1 drops, perfect. I don't want high on inkables. And we'll get more into like doing practice hands later, but that's kind of my rough mentality. And then the other thing is I need card draw, right? I need a path kind of forward. And sometimes you don't see it and you'll just kind of have to work at it and dig around, and then you'll end up having a way to get lots of cards. But the other thing is I need to be able to respond to what they do. So having a fox or a crab or something else that I can get pretty early onto the table in case they are aggro or something. So you kind of going wider in the beginning is better, in my opinion. That's why I run 9 1s. I would have run 10. Right now I'm on 9. With the 2 drops, we've got Cusco, 2 with Cusco, and then 2 Madam Mim Snake. Those are it for the 2 drop characters because I want to see those 1s. I don't really want to see, a bunch of 2s in my hands, especially later. I don't find the snake is as useful as she used to be. I'd rather have, 4 Mim Fox and 3 crabs to help rather than the snake. So I run 4 Fox. The reason I do that, location control. Locations, I think, are very devastating when done at the right moment. Thinking of you, McDuck Manor, right? Or multiple little locations. So I feel that 4 Mim Fox is something that's super, super critical. Recently, I went up. I was doing 3 Fox and 2 Crab. And then you'll see later 2 Maui. And I felt that that was enough. And then I remember that my rule used to be I would do 4 Fox, 3 Crab, 2 Maui. Or 3 Maui, whatever. And putting them back in at those levels has made completely a turnaround change, especially in mirror matches. And I would say that with Ruby Sapphire and Sapphire Steel getting such a spanking with those bans, you're going to see Ruby Amethyst. And I can tell you 100%, because I've been doing a bunch of those games lately, that mirror match is a drag. So you need to have a little bit of something in there to deal with the mirror match. And I think that I have kind of worked on that, and we're there now. So we'll keep going. So 4 Fox, super important to bounce things that you need. She has rush, right? You can bounce Crab to make her into a 7. Now she's a huge bomb to blow up into something. Or maybe, you can have Crab on the table, bounce Mim, or bounce him with Mim. Now she's a 7. If you had enough ink, replay Crab, now she's what? She's a 10. She can take out any location in the game. She can take out any character minus like the 1 to Ka in the game. Like that's huge, right? So she basically can defeat literally anything in the game in that kind of combo. So those two are super powerful together. I wouldn't do 4 Crab because with everything else, we kind of have to be careful. We're already at 61 cards and 14 uninkables, so we kind of need to keep the flow and the cohesion together, and I feel that 3 is the right mix. I do 3 Sisu Emboldened Warriors. I don't really play her a tremendous amount. Some people rely on her a bit more. I would rather not need her, but if I do need her, it's nice to have another strong 3, especially if I know they're going to be a deck that's going to have lots of cards. The downside is, when they dump their hand and they're having real big struggle to get stuff, especially if they're Emerald Amber, like the Trinidad version deck or other stuff that's really hyper aggro, they're not going to have a lot of cards. So Sisu isn't super helpful to you. Yeah, you could shift to the big Sisu, but you would rather take their stuff out and not need to rely on your turn 6 to save you, in my opinion. I would rather see Fox and Crab and Goat and Maui and Tremaines or Medusas and use that instead, Brawls, stuff like that to kind of slow them down rather than hoping that I see the big Sisu later. So I only do 3 of her. I do 1 Genie, and the reason being because I run 3 Rabbit. So I only do 1 Genie right now. I find I would rather have the guaranteed card when Merlin is removed from the table rather than the 1 extra questing. Yes, he does have evasive. Yes, he has 1 more health, But typically anything that's going to defeat Rabbit is going to defeat Genie in most instances, it seems. And a lot of people are so concerned about having, me sitting down with 3 Genies or something as a Ruby Amethyst player that they already have answers. They've already figured out what to do. Whether that's a lot of evasive, which we'll get into. Ruby Amethyst evasive decks are a thing. Those will just eat up your Genie, right? If you're sitting down in a mirror match, even just like if you copied my deck and we played against each other, you have Brawl. You have Sisu, you have Medusa, you have answers that will just destroy Genie. So I would rather get the guaranteed extra card. I am running 4 Goat. I feel that the Goat, even if I ink him early, he has won me games by being the top deck. It was I've had numerous times where he is literally the thing I have to draw next, or I will lose the game, and then you get him, and it feels so good to just Goat for the win. Whether that's bouncing him back and forth, or just playing him, or whatever. Being able to do that is super, super awesome for us to be able to win games sometimes and just pull us right out of the fire for the win. Already gone over the Rabbit. I would do, well, I guess I'll mention, the reason I'm not doing 4 Rabbits, I'm doing 3, is to have one more answer in my deck for a Diablo evasive heavy kind of situation. Having 1 Genie, plus he does help with, if you're in some mirror matches, him being able to quest for extra, it is helpful. You can still bounce him to get a card. But with Rabbit, I went away from 4 to put 1 Genie in for the evasive, and I wouldn't probably do 4 and have Genie. I just feel like sometimes I have found that I'll have 2 or 3 Rabbits in my hand, and what I need is removal. Right? I'm in a situation where I need to get rid of something on my opponent's side, and all I keep doing is drawing more things to draw me more cards, but I'm burning up my resources, my my ink in that turn, and I'm stuck. So I would only right now recommend 3. I could see a case for going above it, but I would recommend 3. I'm running 3 Elsas. She's a phenomenal card, especially if I have strong stuff on the table. I need to exert something. She, especially when you're playing against certain aggro and you're like, I can't let them get any more lore. They play whatever they want and you play an Elsa and then you're like, oh, okay, cool. Maui was already sitting here, smack. Right? So she is super awesome. Great at dealing with Diablos. She's a 5. She can sing almost anything that I have in the deck. She's great. I love her. I would not do 4. I was running 4 for a while. I don't feel that in most instances, or let's say in enough instances, I want the 4th one. I have more answers to deal with the Diablos, which I feel is one of the worst matchups for us, is a early Emerald Steel discard thing that just gets on top and starts bullying you. It might be hard to get to 5, so I have some other answers below. And I just kind of think 3 is good. I'm running 3 Mauis. With locations, man, when locations drop, you need to be able to deal with them quickly. You can have Maui and Crab. You're now a 9. You take out McDuck Manor. You got Maui and Mim. You can take out like whatever else you need to, right? 3 Mauis, I feel is great. 4, a little on the high side. 2, I don't feel great about. I think most Ruby Amethyst players might be trying to go towards 2, or a lot of players anywhere going towards 2. And being able to just deal with a location a little bit more dependably could be the difference in the whole game, in my opinion. And he's inkable. So even if I got I feel I'm completely in control, I've got enough foxes or crabs or other things to deal with things, goat on table, to do 4, whatever. I don't need Maui. I'll ink them. No big deal. Tremaines and Medusas, I feel do the best in a 2-2 combo. I know some guys want to only run one or the other, or they only want to run one Medusa because they like Tremaine because it can deal with like the half shark. I get that, but I'm telling you, I have used Medusa way too many times for me to discount her ability, and having 2 Tremaines is a phenomenal thing for when they do things like Prince John, and I can't touch him. Oh, I can now. I can throw that down and you take care of it for me, right? Or whatever other big evasive thing like half shark. I don't need to worry about it. I'll just get rid of her. And I love the fact she is shiftable. There have been plenty of times I had 10 ink. I would play 1 Tremaine, shift the second one. And then if you're able to on the next turn, you bounce her back to your hand and you've got 2 Tremaines, right? That's super cool. A super easy, cool thing to be able to do to wipe stuff out. Sisu, I'm only running 1. I had gotten off of using her for a while, but I felt with the probably return of Steel Song in abundance and Emerald Steel in abundance. She was going to have a lot of uses. She did just this other day, bailed me out of a really bad situation where I was playing against a Ruby Amethyst mirror match, but that player was doing a lot more evasive. So they were doing Peter Pan, Shadowfinder. They were doing the Moana. They were doing Elsa, Iago. And so I needed something that could remove a bunch of stuff. He had ended up playing 2 Peter Pan, and I got to play Sisu instead of using a B prep. I think I'd already used up my B prep, so like he set it up because he was running out of things to try to fight my castle. Played her. She literally stabilized the board and was a big part of how I ended up winning that match. So I am extremely sold on this card overall, and I think that any Ruby Amethyst player should run her. But in my opinion, we run 4 B preps. Just my thing. I do run 4 brawls. I know some players, they don't even like brawl anymore. Blows my mind. I love brawl. Brawl is too important. Being able to take out the double singer Ursula, being able to take out Diablos, being able to take out Peter Pan Shadowfinder. There's a ton of stuff that brawl is great for. Getting rid of genies, right? Getting rid of a rabbit so that they can't sit there and keep bouncing it back and forth, back and forth. Getting rid of a Chernobog's followers, right? Just to stop their potential ramping up of more card draw. Brawl is super valuable. It's inkable. This is hands down one of the most useful cards probably in the entire deck because, yeah, you'll run into times where you're like, there's no good target. Ink it, right? But it's so good. Now, here is where we start getting into my little bit of spice. I am currently running 2 Teeth and Ambitions. Now, I know a bunch of guys are gone to the Peter Pan Shadowfinder because they want to use that as their answer for Diablo. I don't think I have any room for more uninkables. I'm already sitting at 14. I don't really want to rely on Pan. I'm not going to run a bunch of evasives that I want to crash into things like Iago or stuff, right? I don't want to go that route. I want to go with the more, let's say, traditional route that has lots of answers for lots of things. Teeth and Ambitions is phenomenal for dealing with the giant cobra, dealing with Iago. Because why? They are illusions, so they have vanished. So I can target them with Teeth and Ambitions, and they're gone. And if I were to do Teeth and Ambitions onto, let's say, Rabbit, and he dies, I get a card. Goat, he dies, I get a lore. Broom, I get a card. Cusco, I get a card, right? There's a bunch of characters I could throw it on and then bounce them, and it's like it didn't happen anyway. Teeth and Ambitions is a super fun card that had completely fallen out of favor with Ruby Amethyst players, and I think that's kind of missing out on the potential that it can do for us. I do run 100%. Will always say everyone that's ever doing anything Amethyst should run 4 friends on the other side. I don't know if there's ever an instance, minus some really extreme hyper aggro Amber Amethyst decks that maybe don't want 4. Anybody else should probably always have that. This is just too valuable of a card, giving you 2. It's singable. It's only 3. It's inkable. It's like one of the most perfect cards in the entire game. I do run 1 B King Undisputed, which has the same ability as Lady Tremaine. So I love this. It's singable by a bunch of the characters, genies, goats, rabbits, anybody else that was bigger. It's also saved me in instances early game because my opponent's thinking, well, what's he going to do? He can't play Medusa. He's only got 4 ink, right? Or maybe I had 3 and I'm getting ready to ink to my 4. He's going to play Rabbit. He's going to play Genie, right? They're thinking that. They're not thinking, oh yeah, well, I'm going to knock out one of your other characters. You only got 1 left that you just played that special B King, right? Early on, I've disrupted and messed them up. So I think doing 1 is good. 2, I could see a case for. I've actually kind of been wanting to go up to 2, but I haven't been able to figure out what I would cut. And I don't really want to go to 62 cards. Anything else that's uninkable is either card draw or it's direct, or indirect kind of control. So I don't really want to take any of those out to put a second B King. I am running 4 B prepared. I think that is just an automatic for me. I love, this is one of my favorite cards in the entire game, next to like Friends on the Other Side and a couple others. This card is just so devastating. This literally makes this deck possible. If we didn't have this, I don't think this deck could really exist in any sort of strong capacity, because this is what keeps those hyper aggro or those really wide decks from just completely wrecking us. We were able to play this, stabilize everything, slow the whole game down, and we say, okay, we're going to reset, and then we're going to start over kind of thing. And being able to drop this on your own stuff, like on Diablos or goats to be able to get, rabbits to get cards, or, Cusco's, being able to do that. And not only have I disrupted your stuff, I'm being rewarded for it. Heck yeah. That's super cool. I do run 3 libraries and only 1 castle. Recently, I made the change to add in a castle. I'd only been running 3 library for like the whole set. I didn't really feel that castle was super good. Not because it's not good, but because that 7 health with a 4 cost is just really difficult to get. In my most recent games, Queen's Castle played a big role in 2 of the matchups. One of them completely made me win just because Castle was there and I could keep him off the table in the mirror match by using Be Prepared, Sisu, and other damage stuff just to keep their stuff off so that they couldn't destroy my castle. And it gave me like 8 lore, I think. It was completely pivotal for me winning. And I do the 3 libraries because library to me is an extremely strong card. We know that as the game continues, they are going to continue to release more and more removal and control options. For us to be able to throw a character or multiple characters onto the library and then have them be in a position where now, okay, you either blow my characters up or I'm going to quest next turn, right? And maybe they take out library instead, whatever. I've now presented them with choices and they have to decide what's the best, route forward. If they choose the characters, I'm now going to get a card for every character. That is massive. When you're able to put in, a rabbit and a Diablo and then 1 other character and have them get blown up and you drew 5 cards, chef kiss, right? I went from maybe 1 or 2 cards to now back to like starting over a brand new hand. And what do you got? You got 2, 3 cards. I've got 7, right? I'm in control going forward. So that's huge, very huge. So that covers everything in here that I run in this deck. We could discuss some possible choices that you could make. I think there's plenty of other videos or other decks that you can find on Dreamborn to kind of really look into that. I feel that this is the most solid representation of this deck that I've run yet. I think that this deck could have done extremely well, in the last set. Because there's not even anything in here that's new. Everything is still from the previous set. And I'm not even upset about that. Because we don't need to run Queen of Hearts or other cards. Like, this just works. I would say going into this Store Championship season, I think we're going to see a lot of mirror match. We're going to see a lot of red-purple show up. A lot of red-purple. We're going to see a good number of funky decks because even in the last set when like red, blue, and red, purple were really strong, I would still run into one Store Championship. There was someone doing red, green. There were red, steel, green, purple, but it was a totally different version than what you've probably seen. And a number of other things. And I think that Steel Song will also be very prevalent. Green Steel, I'm not so certain. At first, when the ban got announced, I was really concerned that was going to be absolutely massive, and it hasn't been. But it only takes one person to show up with it that knows what they're doing to really, really be dangerous. So I think it's pretty much impossible to go over every deck that you might run into. But I think that this deck here has a lot of resiliency. Oh, they're going to be green steel? Okay, well, we've got tons of evasive answers, right? We've got Brawl. We've got Teeth and Ambitions. We have Bee King for later in the game. We've got characters that are going to help us get cards. We've got more characters to get cards. We've got characters to help us get control so that we're able to get cards, hopefully looking for Brawl or looking for some other answer to deal with that early Diablo, because there's only so many things that we can do. We could go in here and do 4 Teeth and Ambitions to really increase. So we'd have 4 Brawls and 4 Teeth, but Teeth can also be removed by Ursula. the 2-drop Ursula. Brawl can't, but Brawl makes us have to get to turn 3 to be able to play it. You know, we could play against Steel Song, and they could do the same thing with Bare Necessities, except they could also take out Brawl with that. Typically, Steel Song doesn't run too many of those, but it is possible. So there's lots of resiliency in here. I would say probably the best matchup, Hyper Aggro. I would say Hyper Aggro is hands down my favorite thing to run into with this, because I have so much experience against Hyper Aggro that I feel like if I can hit the 1-2 punch that I need, it doesn't really matter how much lore they get to. I mean, once they get to like 16, yeah, it's dangerous. But if I keep them under 15, I'll probably win the whole game. Unless my hand just completely bricks at some point and all I keep getting is like more card draw but no like removal. I should totally be able to completely take control. Location heavy decks. This one also does very well because we've got Crab, Mim, and Maui. So we have answers for that. That's probably the easiest stuff. Everything else kind of depends on how their hands go. My main strategy is, we're gonna be playing the game. I need to get the 7 ink. I need to slow the game down. I need to challenge where it makes sense. I need to keep card draw. Absolutely have to keep card draw moving. And I'll engage where I can and where I need to in order to slow the game down. If I can defeat enough of your characters to where you're really struggling to keep questing or to do whatever sort of gimmick your deck does, I'm in a better position. Not just because of the turn 7 be prepared, because maybe you're Steel and you're going to try to play Pete on turn 7 to prevent me, or turn 6 to prevent me from being able to play B prep. So I have to be mindful of that too. So I have to continue to do other things and keep the card draw moving. And I feel that this deck does a really good job at that. Sometimes, there's a little bit of, you're trying to find out a crowd or a fox, not fox, a rabbit, because you haven't seen one whole game. But that kind of stuff just happens. You're going to have variances in the games that you play, and things just don't work perfectly. There's no way to have the best answer in every situation because you have the randomness of just shuffling and, your opponent interfering if they're the right color combination. So there's only so much you can do with that. I guess what we could do is we could do a couple of different practice hands. So go in here to simulate. So we'll do a new game. So let's say I have no idea what you're playing, right? This is a brand new, fresh game. I didn't have any sort of information of what you're doing. Didn't see you play, nothing, right? So if this were my initial hand, what would I be looking to ink? Well, I know I want Broom because I need to have that for card draw. I would probably want to keep a Brawl, not even just card draw. I have a body that I can play. I would want to keep Brawl just in case you are something that I have to deal with, a turn 2, turn 3 kind of problem where you're playing something and now it can either be a Diablo or something else that can start ramping or doing other things for you. I need to be able to have that answer just in case. I like having one rabbit because it is a guaranteed card. I like having the Mim Fox because this is literally what I would need in order to deal with something on turn 3. What I would prefer to see is another 1-drop. Now, with this kind of a hand, I don't even think I would even send anything back until I know what you have for sure. Because what could happen right now, what's the main thing you see right now in this hand? Everything is 4 cost or less. 6 of the cards are inkable. The card that isn't inkable will replace itself. This is a great opening hand. Yeah, we might not get to play on turn 2, right? That's okay. We'll play turn 1. We may or may not quest with the Broom depending on what my opponent does. And then we're going to bounce that Fox in. And then if they still don't have a good target or something for me to do with a Fox, I can sing Friends. So what I would do in this instance, having no information of what your deck is, and maybe even if I do have information, I'm just going to keep this hand. What I'm going to do is I would end up inking Goat first. If I was going first and didn't have another card coming in, I would ink Goat, drop Broom, and then go from there. So let's say we'll just do this. I'll ink 1, right? We'll just replace it just like I was taking a turn. Okay, I got a Crab. So I had ink Goat on turn 1, played the Broom. There's no other card that came in. So in this instance, I would probably ink one of the foxes and then just pass. And then turn 3, we would see what ended up happening. If maybe it was an uninkable, so let's say this fox is gone, I got another rabbit or a genie or something. Okay, well, then what I would probably do is ink crab. No, in that instance, depending on what colors they are, like if they're purple, I'm going to bet that they're going to drop locations at some point. If they're blue, I have to be concerned about McDuck Manor. If they're anything else, other than if they start making me think they're running Diggy Hole Steel Song or Amber Steel, I probably would ink the fox and then quest with the broom, play the crab, blow up the broom, get the card, and then on my next turn, I would sing Friends. It would really depend. So we'll do a new hand just to do another whole scenario. All right, so this is a whole new hand. All right, everything is inkable. We've got a 1. We do have a 2. It would have to make a sacrifice our 1, but we do have that, and we have a path forward with a 3 and everything. In this instance, I'd probably put one of these cards back, maybe 2. So let's see, I'd put Elsa back because I have a better thing. And even if they are playing the Ursula, or sorry, if they're playing Emerald, I have an answer for that. So I probably wouldn't hold on to that. I would probably put one of these back because if they are Emerald, I'm going to want to ink this, right? Because I don't want to give them a song that they can take out with Ursula. So I would probably put these back knowing I'm going to ink the goat, but I'm hoping to get a slightly better. All right. Not super great. We would ink one of the Mauis for turn 1. Actually, I'd ink the goat still for turn 1, and then we would just proceed from there and hoping that it's not Emerald, wanting to get to some other card draw and stuff. All right. In this instance, obviously I have my turn 1. Even if they're Steel Song and they're going first, I would still hold on to this to play him because I need a target from them. And they may not see one of the songs. They may not see Cinderella, right? They may want to go with the Daisy route or something first. So in this instance, I would probably for sure, 100% I'm putting Be Prepared back. I used to play when I was still learning how to play it. I had a player who was doing really good at the time. And he taught me that you would always hold 1 Be Prep. Always. Because then you know you always have it. I feel that by the time turn 7 gets here, if I'm playing correctly, if I'm having a good hand, I have card draw starting from turn 2 into turn 5 and then maybe on turn 6, depending on what's going on. So I should run into a B prep. I'm willing to take that risk so that my opponent, or so that I have the potential for a greater card draw and inkability in moving forward. I feel if there are way too many uninkables early, yeah, you could dig yourself out, but it makes it that much more difficult. And nothing feels worse as a Ruby Amethyst player that I was not able to ink until I got to turn 7, that I wasn't able to ink and I had to pass and I couldn't play something. That's not good. That's really, really bad. That's really, 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 really bad. So B prep would be going back 100%. I'd be keeping Chernobog. I'd be keeping Mim. I'd be keeping Rabbit. I'm not a huge, I don't want to ink these other things, but there is a path forward with them. So I would probably just ink or return the 1 B prep. Did I? It just replaced it with B prep. That happens. It's so crazy. That does happen. And if that did, and then if I knew they were Emerald, I just ink Friends on the other side and then just move forward from there. I'm not going to let them yank it. And if they get B prep, there's nothing I can do. It's uninkable anyway. Nothing I can do. Okay, so in this case, the only thing I'd be sending back is B prep because we've got a 1, we have a 2, another 2 in case I want to pivot of what I want to do. We've got card draw, something that can sing the big card draw, right? This is a great opening hand. Maui, this is a phenomenal hand. I wish I could get this hand more often. Not because I want to have the snake, because I'd rather have more 1-drops or something else or Cusco, but being able to, oh, you are playing something where I'm going to need the snake? Okay, good. I have it in my hand. Oh, you're playing something where I'm not going to need to worry about it? Snake's going in the ink. Right? Easy. All right, in this case, we've got a 1, 1, 2. We got removal, card draw, and a location that'll probably be ink. B prep's the only thing that would be going back. We got a snake. This is a phenomenal opening hand. Although in this case, I'd probably be sending snake back, or not ink. I'd be inking her. This is a really booty hand. There is nothing in the less than 3. So we definitely are sending these back. I would probably send all 6 of these back, only keeping the Fox because we need that early bouncing and attacking. All right, and the hand transformed into something great. We've got a 1. We've got our turn 2 with room for what's going to be bounced, so we could ink these 2 without even worrying about it. Broom's going to get blown up when I play Chernobog or Diablo, right? So I can then pivot and decide what I want to do. This is awesome. This is a great hand. It kind of stinks to have this early because we have nobody that can sing it, but maybe by turn 4, that'll be great for me because I could use Crab or Fox to deal with the threat, right, on turn 4 by attacking and then dropping Beaking after that and taking out everything that they have. So that could end up being absolutely perfect. Let's do a couple more of these and then we'll move on. In this case, we've got 1, 2, we've got 3s, we've got another 1, we got something we can ink. We'll just send Medusa back. Well, that sucks when it swaps for something bigger on non-inkable, but that's okay. Here, let's see. I would definitely put you back. We've got a 1. We got the 3 with another removal. I'd probably send back Elsa, just hoping for something else. I sometimes like having Maui in my hand, especially if I know their locations or their hyper aggro, because then I could hopefully get to turn 5 and just take something straight out. But I know in my mind, if I'm gonna need to ink him, I'm gonna need to ink him, and I'm not gonna worry about it. But in this instance, I probably would keep him because we're high on the inkable count and we want just better things. Wow, we got another B prep. All right, we can make that work. We can make this hand work. We got 1. There's not a lot of instances where I'm getting something other than Broom. This would be the only thing I would send back. Great first hand. Let's do like 2 more. We got our 1. We got 2. Another freaking Broom. I'd probably only send B prep back. Oh, this is much better now. And this will be the last one. So let's see. We'll put B King back because it's uninkable. We have a 2 and a 3. These are really solid choices. We don't need another Crab. Let's go for it. Let's send 4 back. All right, now we got a 1, a 2. We got multiple 3s. We did get a B prep, but this is a good opening hand to kind of move forward with. And it's not a great one, but it's a good hand. We can make this work. So that is a couple of test hands. What I'd like to do in future videos is to do some stuff on Ink Table or maybe on Pixelborn or something and be able to kind of show this deck in action against an opponent. I don't want to do it in this one because it'll kind of make things really long. It's already sitting at 47 minutes right now. But if you guys have any questions or anything about the deck, please leave those down below. I definitely am willing to discuss this deck. I'm revealing it to the world right before my own store champs. And if you guys want to have a conversation on Discord, my server link is in the description. And yeah, this is the 101 of my Control to Victory deck. The goal being we're going to hit them really hard, stabilize things early game, disrupt whatever they're trying to do with B preps or Medusas and Tremaines and everything else in between. And then by the time it gets into a little bit later game, we're looking to drop some of these locations or other things. And just, we're not worried about questing for big. We're not trying to get a 10 quest, 1 turn thing. I've done that because I just was able to keep putting new character after new character for several turns in a row. And before my opponent knew it, I had like 6 or 7 out there and they're just questing really big. But that's not the goal. The goal is to keep depriving them of options, right? They think, oh, we're going to play this. No, you're not. Medusa. Oh, I'm going to play this then. No, you're not. Brawl. Oh, I'm going to drop a bunch of things. No, you're not. Be prepared. Or Sisu, right? We're just trying to hit them back quickly and disrupt whatever they're trying to do. And then being able to just accumulate questing where we can. And then by the end of it, we're the one who has won. This strategy has worked for me a lot of times. It just works because most decks, some of these decks out here can, they're good at card draw or this or that, but they can't really survive multiple board wipes, not even counting the B prep. Being able to do Teeth and Ambitions with a B King and a Brawl, taking out 3 of their characters, and I still have characters on the table. Oh my goodness, right? Being able to bounce Medusas and Tremaines or Elsas or whatever we need to be able to keep coming back again and again and doing their abilities and just defeating them. Man, it's crazy. right? It's absolutely crazy. You doing that, especially to another like amethyst steel, right? Purple steel. Being able to do that to them, eventually, you know, every deck will eventually run out of cards if they can't keep things moving forward. I mean, they have to be the luckiest person in the world to be able to still continuously get, you know, and they have to have a lot of ink to do like a friend's on the other side. Oh, okay, I got a rabbit. I play rabbit. Okay, and then I play Diablo. And then you blow their stuff up and they get 2 more card draw things and they like replay and they're just repopulating their hand and there's just nothing you can do. That happens, but it's very, very rare. Most of the time what happens is eventually all of this stuff gangs up on them, right? Combined with all of your other characters. And later on, they lose simply because you kept breaking everything they were trying to do. And that to me has been the best strategy. And that's also why, in part, when you're playing against something that has Lucky Dime, that can be so devastating because this deck wants to take time to win. And when they do that, they can do like an auto win kind of thing, right? They play the dime and then you already know they got other items and they're just looking for Tomato or they're looking for something else to keep questing with with that dime. And there's nothing we can do to interfere with it. All we can do is keep blowing their characters up so they don't stick. But I feel that this, hands down, in my opinion, is the best version of this deck that has ever been. It is solid. It works. Will I ever tweak it in the future? Absolutely, right? And the new set's coming out in 6 weeks as of recording of this. Yeah, I'm looking forward to new stuff, better stuff, right? But this deck works, and I really enjoy playing it, and I'm looking forward to being able to come back and report to you guys how the store championships go. Right now I'm looking at playing in 2 of them. I mainly play at 2 stores, and I'd like to play at both of their store champs. There's another one that I might go to as well. I'd really like to get a store championship mat, right? As a lot of us probably would, but I would like to be able to get one this set that actually says champion on it, not just the second place, which they don't even have the second place mat anymore. But yeah. So anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. If you've gone this far, I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed sharing what I can. And yeah, if you have some other questions you'd like to kind of poke about the deck or things maybe that have worked for you in your area with your version of Ruby Amethyst, yeah, and we can get into other comparisons with some other Ruby Amethyst decks that are out there. I didn't want to make this video 3 hours long or anything. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you guys later.